What's up, alchemist? I believe you get psychic messages every day, and most people just miss them or they don't recognize them, especially because, like I said, we get them every day. So a lot of times, things that are have become normal to us, we don't recognize them as these things that we see as more mystical or unattainable, I guess is the best way I can describe it. And so I decided to do this video to help show people how to sharpen their psychic abilities, how to recognize the psychic gifts that they already have that most people don't see. One of the things that you're going to find um, with this video, the main constant that you're going to recognize is the main thing is clearing up your frequency, clearing up the frequency in your mind, in your space. These are the things that usually that type of clutter, mental, spiritual, physical clutter, are the things that make you second guess messages that have come through or block you from getting messages in certain ways or confuse you when you get messages because you can have a message come through and second guess it, or it can come through and be very confusing because of energetic clutter, mental clutter, physical clutter. So you're going to find that the main message throughout this video is clearing up your frequency, the different ways that we clear up our frequency so that we heighten those abilities or we bring them more to the forefront. Because I do believe that all of us have different strengths, and some strengths may be stronger than others. Like I know people who have very vivid dreams all the time. I don't remember a lot of my dreams, but those people who have very vivid dreams all the time, that tends to be what could be one of their stronger psychic abilities if they clear up the frequency. So, in my sound for me, I appreciate you. Um, I'm going to try my best to engage with you all in the chat on this video, but I also want to have a natural flow where I can have some structure to this video for post live, for people watching it post live. I don't want to miss anything. I have my five top things to strengthen your psychic abilities. However, number 4 is definitely going to annoy some people. We'll talk about it. And I have a couple of bonus tips. My first bonus tip is going to be the most difficult for a lot of people. But when I say it is one of the quickest, strongest ways to strengthen your psychic abilities. So, my intention with this video is for you all to walk away having at least one practice that you feel that you can implement that would be realistic for you to try and see if you notice a difference after implementing that practice. And then once you try one of those practices and you see, man, okay, I'm on point with certain things, then that'll give you the discipline, the motivation to try some of the other practices as well. So, going to number 1 of 5, not my top one, but my first one, is how you start your day. Oh man, I really can't say enough about this. Like, I am just blown away at how I have just witnessed how so many people start their day. How people will get out of bed and start their day on the phone, immediately turn the television on, immediately start blasting music in their ear, immediately engaging in negative conversation, negative talk, like all of these things. Like for me, I get my strongest messages when I first wake up in the morning and when I'm going to bed at night. Those times of the day for me are golden. And it's like when you start your day with on the phone with another energy, another person, or turning on a television, or in your phone pulling up. It doesn't even have people. A lot of people say social media, just pulling up your phone. Period. All of this is like, again, it's muddying up the frequency. You're starting your day out with clutter. You're starting your day out muddying up the frequency, right? And for me, when I think about these powerful messages that come in when I first wake in that quiet time, I just couldn't imagine. Like it's like those messages are coming in and you just turn music on blast. So you're not going to be able to hear any of those messages. You're not going to be able to get any of those messages in. And it's setting the energetic tone for the rest of your day. Like it is just like I need that. I need that quiet. I need that peace to start my day. It literally is what keeps me sane for the rest of the day, because you're going to have no choice but to engage with so many people once you get out of bed and you get out the door. So you have to capitalize on that first hour, 2 hours, if you have the luxury, or even if it's the first 20 minutes. You should be starting your day in silence, in solitude, to be able to hear whatever higher power you believe in. For me, is God. And then from there, my guides. Like, you have to be comfortable with stillness and quiet in the morning, and not just immediately going to the noise of the world. So, also, the other thing I had connected to that is going to sleep. Like, I see a lot of people fall asleep with the television blasting. Like, whatever you have on your television when you go to sleep, like, that's being programmed into your subconscious while you're asleep. Like, it's just that's another thing that's just wild to me. Like, I know certain people that they start their day listening to the news and they end their day listening to the news. And what do we normally hear on the news? It's rare that you hear anything positive on the news. So it's how you start your day and you end your day. These things play a part in heightening, strengthening your psychic abilities. Um, and so, in terms of winding down, like, I really try my best. If I'm not having silence, complete silence, I'm making sure I'm listening to something that I am okay with being embedded in my subconscious as I drift off to sleep. So I have this affirmations app where you can record your own affirmations. I love to have that playing at night in combination with the sound bath. You know, these are, you got the whole rest of the day to kind of be a little more less controlled, a little more reckless. But the start of the day and the end of the day is just key for me in terms of me and my psychic abilities. So moving on to number two, solitude and silence. I tell you, the people I find that are the most paranoid, that get the most mixed messages, that are just spiritually broke, are people that, I shouldn't say spiritually broke, psychically, which is a close connection, but I'll say psychically broke, is people that cannot be alone. Like, they always have to be around somebody. They always have to be in the mix. They can't sit with themselves in silence. If they are with themselves, it's something else penetrating that space with them. Rather, it's a television, something on their phone, uh, something where you can't just sit with yourself and your own thoughts. If you can't sit in silence, then you can't hear God, your higher power, whatever you believe in, your guides speaking to you. How can you? If you're always just, your mind is always busy doing other things. So being comfortable, being alone, is essential for just having clear messages come through for you. Is number three, grounding in nature. So, there are some people that might find this corny. I know some people, they turn their nose up at the idea of walking or riding a bike or putting your feet in grass or hugging a tree or what have you. There are so many ways to ground. You don't have to, if one doesn't uh call you, if one particular practice you don't feel called to, then try another. There's multiple ways to ground, whether we're talking about taking a walk in nature, meditating, even working out, like going to the gym and working out. um I think the tricky part about working out is the music we tend to listen to when we work out. Because even me, I want some, I want some turn up to motivate me to keep going in the gym if I'm working out. So one of the things I used to do, like running at the track or running on the lake, is I would try to do a certain amount of that run just in silence. Or some days I would do my run just in silence. Like form of whatever form of grounding you feel called to, like feels comforting to you, you need to have that as a regular practice. Because even with how I talk about starting my day out in silence and solitude, and being prepared to mentally, emotionally, spiritually handle all the things that are going to be thrown my way throughout the day, the even with that, you still get thrown off by different people and different things that come your way. And for me, like meditation, taking long walks with my dog, it really helps me not absorb other people's energy so easily, not be so reactive. Like the days that I don't have that, or the days that I go multiple days without having that, I feel the difference. I have less patience for people's BS on days that I have not grounded. And what other people's mess I notice is more disturbing to me when I don't ground, when I don't have that time. Something else that I have to warn people of and keep in mind: the stronger your strengths get, the more draining I feel like other people can be also if you don't ground. Because as your abilities heighten, man, sometimes you get messages you just don't want. It's like you may get messages about a person, and you know they're not going to receive that message well, or you know they're not going to do anything productive with the message. So for me, I'm like, I'm not even going to waste my time telling them, you know. But because of the ability to receive these messages, sometimes I'll just give a message just so it can stop bothering me. So this is why I also feel like grounding is important, because it gives me another way to deliver. It gives me another way to have these abilities without. It gives me another way to get messages or other people's energies out without having to just bat it back to them. Yeah, I think grounding is just one of the most powerful ways to clear up your energy, for sure. And just because having peace, being centered, all of this stuff plays a part in how well you can deliver messages. At least for me, you may ask another psychic, they may have a different answer for you. Um, and I think just remembering that, as you heighten your abilities, you'll realize that, psychic or not, we're all human. And some of my most accurate psychics, sometimes they're super on point, and sometimes I can tell that they're a little shaky, they're a little off. And I know, because I'm in the same shoes as them, oh, okay, they probably have something going on right now that's throwing them off their A game. And I have to give them room to be human. Moving on to number 4, I told you all number 4 was going to annoy you. Let's talk about it, people, because we all love it, especially if you're in the United States like myself. Food. What you are eating. Food affects your mood, but it doesn't just affect your mood. It affects your energy. It affects your psychic abilities. So Here is my experience. I can't say this is applicable to everyone, but this is my experience. Where my psychic abilities went through the roof and I realized, were able to recognize what they were and what was happening to me, was when I stopped eating meat. When I gave up animal product. I am, I guess, technically a pescatarian. And even now, like the times that I consume dairy, I can just tell the difference. Like if I'm eating too much dairy, or if I go a long time without dairy and then have a little bit of it, I just notice the difference. Not just talking about in uh, the spiritual realm or psychic abilities. I'm talking about just physically, all of that. And so, for me, again, I don't know if this is applicable. Oh, the other thing I wanted to say about that, I noticed that some of, like, I only follow a few psychics, and the ones that are the most on point, where like when I'm watching their readings, mind you, these they're on YouTube. Okay, I'm watching them on YouTube with thousands of other people. The psychics that I feel like are in the room talking to me, all of them are pescatarian, vegetarian. I don't know if any of them are vegan. But I find that people that are pescatarian, vegetarian, a lot of times we all tend to lean towards primarily plant based anyway. Now, I will say there is one psychic that I follow that I've heard her mention Chick-fil-A. So I know she eats meat, but she's super on point. That's why I say these are my tips. This is what has worked for me. I can't say it's applicable to everyone else. Um, but for me, when I gave up animal product, that's when all of these things that I thought was normal, that I thought everyone else experienced, they started becoming more clear that no, this is this is your these are psychic messages. I started to be able to recognize what they were. And like I said in the beginning, this is all about clearing up the frequency, clearing up your frequency so that you can recognize what the messages are. And it is so important to be able to separate divine messages from messages that aren't divine. And how can I put this? I'm not telling you to stop eating meat. You do what you want to do. But here's the thing, when it comes to animals, unfortunately, most of the meat that we eat, these animals have lived, well, most of the meat that other people eat that wouldn't be a we thing. Um, Most of these animals have suffered terribly. They've had a life of suffering before they were slaughtered and then consumed. And I say this all the time, like even if you don't like animals, even if you're not an animal advocate, even if you hate animals, who that actually cares about themselves wants to consume something that spent their whole life laying in their own feces or depressed or living in fear or under severe stress? Who wants to consume that? Now, take that, consume it, and imagine how that muddies up the frequency for you psychically, energetically, physically. Um, I'm not saying what you should or shouldn't eat. I'm telling you what my experience was. My experience was when I let go of the animal product, mainly, I shouldn't say like animal product because I still have dairy occasionally and I do still have fish occasionally. Um, but that's when, man, the messages just went through the roof and I was able to recognize and discern and separate divine messages from not divine messages, because that's the other thing. you know I think we get all types of messages. We don't just get divine messages, we get messages from dark energies coming in and trying to tell you, oh yeah, she trying to steal your man, or oh, this person is jealous of you, or oh yeah, they're about to fire you. Like, and maybe no one's trying to fire you, maybe no one wants your man, but these are dark energies trying to put those paranoias in your head. I'm just giving you examples of not so divine messages. And that's another, random bonus tip here. Random bonus tip. When it's your higher power, God, whatever you believe in, or your guide speaking to you, it is not going to create fear. It is not going to create paranoia. That is not the energy of God or your guides or whatever it is you believe in. So that's a random bonus tip that I didn't even have in my notes. Oh, so I don't want to be preachy about your diet. I'm just telling you what my experience has been. Eat what you want to eat. But if that practice works for you or you want to try it, try it. If that doesn't work, try some of the other practices. Moving on to number 5. Um, man, I did want to touch on one last thing on number 4. But I guess I kind of already said it, which was just that I might edit this part out. We'll see. But the energy, just think about the energy you consume. Consume. Listen to that word. Consume. The energy you consume. So, if you eat something that did not live a happy life, you're consuming that. You're literally putting it inside your body. I mean, I don't know how much more I could make my point with that. All right, moving on. Number 5. This is all the time, and people do not pay attention. This is the one that's just right in our face a lot of times, and people just dismiss it. Synchronicities. If okay, I'm gonna use my own story as an example. I make natural care products, and this was something that I naturally did for myself and my dog for years, just for us. I didn't think anything of it. Look at that. Keep how dare you go out on me. Hold on, you all. Got my sacral chakra candle lit and it went out. Anyways, um oh, okay. Back to what I was saying. So, I had 3 random people over the span of 12 months just randomly tell me I was a healer. And the first time and the second time I heard it, but especially the first time, it sounds so crazy to me. Because when I thought of the word healer, I thought of like the story in the Bible where you touch the hem of his garment and you're magically healed. So to me, that just sounds ridiculous for someone to call me a healer. So the first time I dismissed it. Even the second time, I was like, that's weird. Someone else said that, but I'm still thinking both of them are kind of kooky. Like just really just didn't sit and unpack what they had just said to me. The third time, and my psychic abilities hadn't even really come through like that yet, but when I heard it that third time, and it literally was like in 6 month increments. The first person said it, then about 6 months later, another person said it, then 6 months later, the third person. And at that point, that's when I was like, well, man, I do believe everything happens for a reason. And that's something I've been saying pretty much ever since I could remember, since I was at least a teenager. So when that third time happened, I started to just step back and not make the thought of being a healer so mystical. In my opinion, Stevie Wonder is a healer. His music brings me comfort. It lifts my spirit. Anything I listen to by Stevie makes me feel good. So that is the definition of a healer. I think people kind of glorify it or make it bigger than what it is. And so the reason I'm saying that, I know I went on a little tangent about the healer thing, but I'm talking about the synchronicities. In that it turned out that they were right. Like I've made products that have healed people. And I love what I do. And I'm glad I listened to that third person because it is something that I'm the most passionate about, especially when it comes to healing animals. People, I'm up and down. Anyways, so synchronicities, that's one example, right? I'm going to give you another example. Let's just say your favorite, let's just say you love dragonflies, right? And you're sitting up pondering whether or not to take this job or something like that, right? And this dragonfly comes and buzzes around you and won't go away, right? And every time you think about whether or not you should take this job, somehow a dragonfly shows up, whether it's on your phone, in person, whatever. And you just dismiss that. You don't even make the connection that every time I'm debating on if this job is a good decision for me or not, this symbolism that I'm fond of, dragonfly, shows up. These are psychic messages. These are 9 times out of 10, there's a guide you have that also loves dragonflies. And so they're trying to tell you, hey, that job, I sent you that job, take it. So these are examples of synchronicities. And I think it's one of the most common ways that people get psychic messages and they just don't pay attention. They don't follow the synchronicities. And I wanted to give those two different examples because one example I gave you was of people saying the same thing to you over and over again. The other one was a form of symbolism, right? Another one can be repeat numbers. Sometimes when I'm thinking of something in particular, I'll look at the clock and see what time it is on the clock. I'll look at anything that has numbers on it. I'll look at a license plate. It's a habit now. It just happens naturally for me now. When it's something that I'm questioning, look at the phone, or if I'm driving and I'm thinking about something and questioning it, I'll look at my license plate, look at the license plate of the car in front of me. These are different ways that your guides and God communicates with you. And so many of us, we're so stuck in the physical realm. There's so much clutter in our mind. There's so much clutter around us. There's so much energetic clutter from other toxic people that we don't even acknowledge or thoroughly recognize the message that's right in front of us. And man, I'm mad I made that number 5 now because I feel like that's where some of the most powerful messages are, is in that number 5. I'm gonna have to clip that up. Um, and so yeah, number 5 is a synchronicity. So going on to my bonus tips now, and that's the other thing I want to say about the synchronicities is, for me, like, the 3 times is a charm. 3 in the number 11, those repeating ones. For some people, I know it's 444, 888. Pay attention to what you repeatedly see because it's not the same for everyone. We have our own different spirit teams. We have our own different relationship with God or whatever higher power you believe in. And so these messages can come through different ways for different people. And that is another way to recognize your strongest psychic gifts as well. Because depending on what your strongest psychic gifts are, I believe plays a part in how the messages come through, what you see repeatedly, what you experience repeatedly, how those synchronicities show up. So I'm going to get into my bonus tips now. I will do my best to, like I said earlier, engage or answer questions in the chat if I can, while still remembering and keeping some structure to this video for people who watch after the chat. And I have to say this while I'm remembering. I want to thank all of you so much. Every single person that has left a comment on my videos, that have liked my videos, that have subscribed or shared my videos, I appreciate you all. It is a pom-pom shake for me to keep going and to keep delivering these messages and sharing this content for you guys, which I enjoy doing, but it also is just encouraging for me to know that there's someone on the other end that actually appreciates what it is that I'm presenting to you all. So I'm going to say that again because I'm going to edit that out. Delivering to you all. So anyways, on to my bonus tips. In reference to the bonus tips, so I told you guys the bonus tip number, well, I have it listed as number 6, but my first bonus tip. So my first bonus tip, this is the most difficult practice, at least for me. But I have found that it strengthens my abilities the most. Like a lot of times when I do readings, I fast before I do the readings. Not quite as challenging for me since I kind of naturally do intermittent fasting, but in terms of like really wanting to get, hold on, in terms of really wanting to get those clear messages, man, what's been the most powerful for me is fasting. And it's not easy, but because I like food, but I get why it works. And the reason I say that, it kind of goes back to what I mentioned with tip number 4, is the energy that's on food. I want you to think about this for a minute. A lot of people eat food that other people have prepared. So, for one, let's just talk about rice. Just we're just going to use rice as a quick example. You got the energy of the person that gathers that rice. You got the energy of the person that packs the rice up, the person that loads it on the truck and unloads it, puts it on the shelf. And then if you're not preparing it yourself, you have the energy of the person cooking the food on that rice as well. I don't know if any of you have ever seen the movie Like Water for Chocolate. It's about this woman who made this really delicious food that everyone loved, but whatever she was going through, whoever ate her food, they went through that as well. So, like in the movie, when she's going through a heartache because she broke up with her man or whatever, and she's crying about it, people eat her food, they start crying. Well, we know life imitates art. So even though it is a fictional movie, I'm assuming, um, there is some truth to that. There's some realness to that. Where, if I ever get to see the cook in the back and they look stressed out, they look mad, they're snapping them, I'm like, oh, I'm good, never mind. But for me, I like to try to prepare as much of my food as possible. That's not always realistic. But when I don't prepare my food, one of the things I will say is how I try to circumvent consuming food that may have bad energy on it is at least let the food itself be high vibrating. So if a cook prepared my food that may have a bad attitude or may have some things going on in their life, man, at least if he's cooking me some kale or I'm eating some avocado or something high vibrational, in my mind, it kind of counters that. But going back to the fasting, it makes sense with all that I just said. It makes sense that when you fast and you're not consuming food, why it's going to just widen that third eye. It's going to open up that crown chakra because again, even food is frequency. And so I have found the times that, like, I just did it. I did like we're gonna say 2.5 day fast. Like I did a 2.5 day fast over the weekend, and it's crazy the aha moments that I had and the messages that were coming in to the point where I was like, hey, I got to shut it off because I have other things I still got to do while I'm going through this fast. And so, that may not be the practice that everyone picks because not everybody has the discipline to do that. But when you choose to do it, pay attention. Pay attention, especially, oh my God, if you take that fasting and you combine that with meditation, with some type of grounding practice, powerful, powerful. Hands down, the best tip I'm going to give you for sharpening your psychic abilities in this video. Now, going on to my other bonus tip. So, uh, uh a lot of people don't pay attention to this, but gossip, negative talk. I'm not saying this, I don't want this video to come across like I'm some saint, okay? I have my moments just like everyone else. I eat junk food every now and again, just like everyone else. I have my moments where I may indulge in a juicy piece of gossip, just like everyone else. But for one, small minds discuss people, and there no one should want to be small minded. But most importantly, it's just the power of the tongue, right? First of all, when we gossip and speak negatively about other people, we're speaking it on ourselves anyway. So now you have that negative energy coming back to you, and you got have divine messages that have to try to get through all that clutter, negative talk. In addition to that, pay attention to people that have a lot of negative talk and gossip about a lot of other people, you'll start to notice the things that they talk about in reference to those other people, they start to become that because they don't realize it's literally like taking a gun and pointing it towards yourself. And like I said, I'm not saying it like I'm a saint. Like sometimes I get frustrated and I'll find myself saying something about a person too, but I really try to check myself and come out of that as soon as I catch it. Um, because I know how powerful that is. Even when I find myself just thinking about someone in a negative way, I'll try to go to my mantra, or I'll try to correct that by sending that person love. And being honest, it's not even about the person, it's about me. Like, I'm like, I can't afford to be sitting up here talking negatively about other people, thinking negatively about other people, because I don't want what comes with that. And it's not worth it to me. Not to mention, I'm just not entertained like some people are by like even celebrity gossip, right? You know, I'll indulge in a little juicy piece of celebrity gossip here and there. But I have to say, like, because I like to watch The Breakfast Club, for those who know about The Breakfast Club. In The Breakfast Club, they talk about a little bit of celebrity gossip. But even with that, this is the point I want to make with that. Even with that, the crazy part is I have noticed as my abilities have elevated, a lot of the celebrity gossip that would have been entertaining to me in the past, I can see right through it now. Where I'm like, some of the stuff that people say about celebrities, I'm like, how do you know that? How do you know that to be true? You know, like think about someone that you know in your personal life that you may have, I could just say someone you went out to dinner with, right? Even their version of the chain of events that took place when you all went out to dinner is going to be different from yours. And they know you personally and they were there. Now you take celebrity gossip and you dilute that, you water it down so much with it being handed down from person to person to person. It's like 10% hearsay. And so it's just fascinating to me how as you heighten those abilities, you see through stuff that other people will take at face value, other people will take as fact. And mind you, if you're not recognizing this as psychic abilities, you may think, this is just me being, I don't know. I don't know the word I want to use for that. But a lot of people won't recognize it as it being your psychic abilities when it is. You're seeing through the BS. You're seeing through the fog. Why? Because what have I been saying through this entire video? You're clearing the frequency, you're removing the static, so you're able to get the messages clearly. I want to think of an example off the top of my head of like some celebrity gossip I heard that I just knew wasn't true, but I can't I can't think of anything right now. I wish I had put that in my notes. But I hear it all the time. Where's just certain stuff that people say. And on the flip side, I've heard some things in terms of celebrity quote unquote gossip where I was like, oh, that's true. That's true. And I don't know how I know, but I know, right? And there will be those synchronicities and confirmations that come in, like some of the practices I mentioned, some of the things that I mentioned earlier in the video. So anyways, getting back to the bonus tip, I'm not saying you have to be a saint because I'm not, but awareness. I'm gonna combine this last tip with the gossip tip. Awareness, right? Actually, it's one more tip, but awareness. When you're aware of what you're saying, what you're doing, what you're thinking, you can catch yourself. Yes, you're gonna be human and slip up and have your moments, but you're able to correct yourself. Period. I see some people just go on and on and on and on and on. I see them constantly engage in negative conversation, constantly engage in gossip, and they don't even see how they sound, you know? And so when you are aware, even when you slip up, because we are human, you can correct yourself. There will be your guides and God coming in, tapping you on the shoulder. Man, a lot of times I'll stub my toe, I'll bump my knee. I remember one time I took the kitchen cabinet and accidentally slammed it into my head. And as soon as I did, I was like, wait, what was I just thinking about? And I was thinking about someone who had ticked me off. And I was like, oh, let me get them out of here. Let me get them out of here. And I immediately countered it with a positive thought, turning around the situation that I was thinking about with that person. So, again, it's not to say to walk around and be some saint, it's to be aware when we're lowering our vibration so that we can bring it back up. For the people who are on autopilot and not aware, I feel sorry for them. And I am to a place in my life where I don't even have the energy to try to wake them up because most of them don't want to be. So that's another thing with that in terms of the psychic abilities. Man, being able to recognize the people that are ready to receive the messages you have for them and the people who are not, because your energy is currency, is valuable. And I had to learn when my messages really started coming in, when my gifts really started coming in, that I don't have to deliver every message to everyone. Sometimes I might get a message about someone for my own protection, for my own information, not to necessarily tell that I, mm, no. Okay, yes. Last bonus tip. So, some of you all, this is going to trigger you just like number 4, but clearing your space, cleaning your space. You can often tell a person's mental state by looking at their personal space. If you have clutter around you, if you have dirt around you, if you have filth around you, if it's unorganized, this speaks volumes to what's going on in your head, what's going on with you energetically. And a lot of I have found, I saw this guy, this was a few years ago. It was like New Year's Eve or the day before New Year's Eve, and I put up a post about, clearing your space, entering the new year the right way. And clearly he was, I mean, he might not have seen my post, but the bottom line is he was triggered by people that actually are will actually clean their space. So he put up this post talking about how stupid it was to to focus on cleaning your house and all this stuff for New Year's and blah 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 blah. And I was just like, how would you know? How would you know? Because clearly you're too lazy to clean your space, so you're using that as an excuse to send that back to those who actually take the time to clear and organize their space. Try it and see how you feel. Pay attention to how you feel before you clean and organize your space, and then clean and organize it. Leave, going about your business, do whatever you're going to do for your day. And when you re enter that clean, organized space, tell me you don't feel a difference. This is a huge part, not the cleaning part. I'm making another point. This is a huge part of why people miss their psychic abilities, because we will feel these shifts and just dismiss them, don't even acknowledge them, not properly recognize them. And a lot of times certain things people will dismiss or not properly recognize because they don't want to do the work. And that's fine. But for those of you watching this video, because you actually want to strengthen your psychic abilities, these are the practices that work for me. When my space is not organized, it immediately starts to stress. I feel the stress from it. Like even just one little area that's not organized. Like I had this box in the like living room, dining room area. That box sat there for a couple of weeks, and I finally got rid of the box the other day. And the only reason I hadn't moved the box is because I didn't know where I was going to put the contents that were in the box. But man, the moment I cleared that one little corner, it was just this small box. It wasn't even a big box. The moment I cleared that space, I could feel the clearing. Like I felt better. I'm like, dang, I didn't even realize how much that box was annoying me having to look at it every day until I actually moved it, until I actually did what I had to do, figured out where I was going to put the things in that box and cleared that space. So keep in mind, look at your personal surroundings, pay attention to any clutter, and you don't have to take my word for it. Just try it one time and pay attention to how you feel after you clean your space, because your feelings, your mindset, all of those things are connected, even physically. Because if mentally it's affecting us, then physically it's affecting us. So, in recapping everything that I covered with you all, it's again, energy, clearing out that frequency energetically, mentally, physically, um, being okay with spending time with yourself. Ooh, something I want to tell you all, for those of you who struggle with spending time alone, those of you who struggle with being in silence, a lot of times those are people that are the most capable of being psychic, that are capable of having some of the strongest psychic abilities. And a lot of times they can't handle those gifts. They can't handle those gifts. And so they run from it by being surrounded by other energies, by other noise, by chaos. They water down, um, or turn down the ability to hear and pick up the messages that they could be picking up. Uh, so for me, um, and again, I respect whatever your beliefs are. For me, like, really continuing to strengthen my connection with God is what helped me have the courage to step more into those abilities, to strengthen those abilities, and to enjoy. Well, I'm an Aquarius, so Aquarians love their own company better than anyone else's. So I've never had an issue with being alone. But um, in terms of just sitting in pure silence, I appreciate, I value, I cherish that time now. What was the last thing I wanted to cover with you guys on that? You know, I want to encourage you all to start with one practice. Out of everything I mentioned, whatever seems the most realistic for you to do. Because you don't want to be stressed about it. You want to have an ease to it. You want it to feel organic. You want to enjoy tapping into this, right? So just take one of the practices and be disciplined with it. Implement it. I'm going to say give it a good solid week where you're consistent. And then pay attention to things that I mentioned, like those synchronicities, and what you hear. For me, a lot of the messages I get, I hear them. But that may not be the strongest way that you get messages. So it could be what you feel. It could be what you smell. I smell things too, and get messages that way, which is difficult to explain. But for those who have that gift, they understand. So that's another thing that I feel, when you start tapping into these different practices, you're going to start to recognize what your strongest psychic gifts are. Let me know if you guys want me to do a video on that too, how to recognize your strongest psychic gifts. I believe Stargirl has a video on that, and I felt like her video was pretty on point. I would love to go more into detail about that. If you all appreciate this type of content, I'm trying something different because I really want to empower people. I feel like the more we can, like, how you come and you listen to a reading to kind of help you, give you encouragement, give you guidance. And I do that too. I like listening to readings as well. But when I say the most powerful messages come straight through God and my team. And I want to empower people to be able to do that, where you're not relying on outside sources to empower you, to encourage you, to um, give you confirmation. So, hey, again, I thank each and every one of you all that like, subscribe, comment, share my content. Let me know that you enjoy what I'm providing for you all. This is something different. I might do it again depending on how you guys respond to it, or simply if I feel called to do it. That's another thing you know what? I'm going to end on that with you guys. When it comes to tapping into your psychic abilities and just moving in divine order, man, I personally believe it takes a lot of courage to sometimes to listen to God over everyone else. Because a lot of people talk a good game when it comes to their spiritual beliefs and what have you, but talking it and walking it is two different things. And if people really knew my story, which one day they will, like, there are things that people on the outside looking in could look and say, she didn't have to go through that. Like, why wouldn't you just do this? This is easier. Because that's not what God told me to do. That's not how God told me to move. That's not how my guys told me to move. And I'm listening to them over you all. That a lot of times the main people that want to give you that direction, they are nowhere near where you are spiritually, mentally, emotionally. And before I go on a rant about that, I'm gonna see you all on the next one. You know what? I may do a part two and talk more about that because I'll get on my soapbox and get to preaching. Okay, you guys, I'll see you all on the next video.